I haven't used this computer before for Zoom or Facebook, but my laptop is in the shop. So I'm experimenting a little bit here.
Looks like we're now streaming live.
Awesome. Hello, hello, everybody. We have our group coaching scheduled for right now. I know that there were at least 3 of you that were going to join us, but nobody is here on Zoom except for Coach Jenny and I. So we thought we would just hop on and say hello. And let me navigate here quickly and make sure I have my Facebook comments on so I can see you guys pop in. There we go. So Jenny and I were just gonna talk a little bit and see who joins us. And so I asked Jenny, of course, like 3 seconds before we went live, if she had anything in particular that she's been noticing kind of trends with her mindset clients. And so we're just gonna wing it and talk a little bit here.
Hi, everybody. I have had laryngitis this week, so I'm sounding a little croaky.
But you're making noises, so that's important.
Oh yeah, I wasn't for like 3 days. It's not like me to get sick, let alone lose my voice. For a hypnotherapist to lose their voice, that's problematic.
Especially a virtual one.
Exactly. You got to talk.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we're going to talk about talking, in fact.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you've noticed.
So when we're eating, when our body's not hungry, when we're eating, when we don't really want to be eating, when the eating is kind of taking us over at some point, I find that lots of times it has to do with what we aren't saying, what we're not saying in our life, what we learned at some point long ago that we couldn't say to stand up for ourselves. And often it really is in childhood, or it's in an emotionally or physically and emotionally abusive relationship at some point. And we've just learned, we've learned nobody wants to hear us. We've learned we're not as smart as the other people we think we're not, or that it's dangerous to speak, just flat out dangerous to speak. So we stop. But that urge is there. The words, we want to stand up for ourselves. Our soul always wants to stand up for our well-being. And so if it's trying to come out, what do we do to stop it from coming out? And eating, putting something in, smoking, drinking, alcohol especially, kind of shoves it back in. But it goes somewhere. Where does it go? Sometimes it goes into the body getting larger. It goes into
down. It brings you down into that. I know you like to talk about the higher and lower frequencies, right? I can imagine if you're pushing things down, it's going to push that frequency down.
Well, yeah, it gets all gummed up. You don't take the garbage out. You don't take your kitchen garbage out for 3 weeks, let's say. It's not smelling good.
Yeah.
And it's just like that inside of our body. Things get sludgy. Inside of our life, things get sludgy. And we want them to be happy. We want them to be uplifted. We want to have friends and colleagues with whom we feel really honored, loved, respected, spoken to honestly, listened to heartfully. But the less we learn to speak up for ourselves, the less we have those kind of interactions in our lives.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting, because when I talk to everybody before they come into the program, and I'm trying to, the whole time I'm listening to them, trying to make sure that they're ready to do all of this hard work, B, make sure that I know that I can get them the right team members for them, right? And so I hear so many women talking about, relationships that they feel stuck in or undervalued in. And then lots of stuff, even when we're in our 60s, that we're still thinking about from childhood or very early relationships. And so I know that in terms of sending people to you, and I know how successful you are with that. I guess when you were just talking, I was thinking there are so many other ways to think about that though, right? Like you know, in our profession right now, so a lot of our Wholist people right now are doctors. In our profession right now, we are losing a lot of autonomy and voice
Yeah.
in being able to curate our patient relationships and to curate the way that we want our lives to look as doctors and how we want to practice. And I'm wondering a little bit about that stifling.
That's
Um,
terrifying, actually. So I'm not a doctor, and as I communicate with all of you in the medical world, nurses, doctors that I'm working with, it's really terrifying to know that your natural urge to heal, to communicate, to spend enough time is being blocked,
yeah,
and that you're not able to take care of your own physical, mental, emotional well-being. I'm not saying you, because you've
yeah,
learned to use your voice. Um, but think of this. Is it okay to go ahead? Because I'm going to talk
yeah,
about medical
yeah, yeah.
world.
Go for it.
So from early training in medical school, you're not taught to take care of your body. You're taught to stay up way too many hours, not eat when you need to eat, grab. Okay, whenever somebody says grab, I'm just going to grab some food. I think, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah,
Take some breaths.
yeah,
Love your food. Slow down. Chew your food. But literally in medicine, you're having to grab your food if you even get a chance to grab your food. So you don't get to eat. You don't get to sleep. You don't get to pee when you need to pee. And how is that a healthy environment for medical professionals, let alone for their patients?
yeah.
So,
There's a video that Coach Shola put out yesterday on her Facebook group, and I shared it in the Curate Your Health Facebook group. You should really watch it. It's very raw and vulnerable and real about physician mental health and suicide.
great.
So it's pretty
That's
interesting. But
that's
so
vital.
yeah, so that's really interesting to think about that. So the idea of like putting something in your mouth to sort of push that back down when you want to be able to use your voice. For me, I think when I realized that I was able to find 20 minutes 3 times a shift to go pump when I was breastfeeding, to do it for somebody else, but I was not taking the time to do it for me. That was like a big turning point for me, that I was like, the world did not end because I went and hid in the shower and took phone calls for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? So yeah, so finding a way to give ourselves permission to take care of ourselves, but also to use that voice. The other thing I was thinking when you were saying that, what was the other example besides medicine? I guess, I mean, I guess that really fits into a lot of autonomy, but um, I mean, even just in our current like political climate where there's just all these terrible things all the time and all these things on the news all the time that we feel powerless about as well.
I've been thinking about that because people in the White House, if they speak up these days, they get fired. If they speak up, if they say, no, something's wrong here, boom, they're out the next day. That's a clear example of don't speak. Don't speak, even if you know something's wrong, even if you're uncomfortable, don't speak.
So how do you help your clients when they're in this situation? You know, obviously we want to maintain privacy for our clients and our friends that we're taking care of, but for some examples of how to recognize that that's what it is that you're doing, and how to, you know, be vulnerable and start, you know, not using food to push it back down and to let some things out.
Okay, that's a great question. First of all, patience, 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 patience. It takes me, like the program is 12 weeks long. That is so great to get the base in there. And beyond that, be patient, because for me to shift things like habits of watching TV in the evening, eating dinner and watching TV and keeping on eating because I'm engrossed in the TV or because it's nice to relax, habits take time to change. Um, I'm a yoga instructor also, and my teacher, who ran the studio where I studied in Carmel, California, she said when she gives a yoga teacher a new class, she doesn't even question whether enough people are attending for 6 months, because she says it takes that long for people to change their schedule and start attending a new class at a new time on a new day.
Wow.
And I think that that's really helpful for these changes. Be patient. Did you get a question come in? I saw you look down as if you might have.
No, it was, there's a couple text messages, but not someone coming in. Yeah.
Okay. So first off, patience with yourself. Write down the thing that you want to change. And then be heartful, be kind, be gentle. This may take some time.
Yeah.
You can tell yourself, I'm going to change it now. And if it doesn't change now, don't fall apart. It takes time to change.
Yeah, I mean, and even more importantly, like all of these kind of big lifestyle changes, what we're talking about is like, you can't do it all at once, right? Like you've got to do small little changes and as I always say, amplify off of those wins. And this is something, what you're talking about is so much more than just, am I unprocessing my food? You're talking about, am I going to stand up and show up for myself in the world, right? And if you do that big and strong and all of a sudden, people don't like it. And so, right. And so small little changes are probably safest.
I'm kind of a lion. I mean, I'm a Leo. I'm a Leo, Aries, and Leo. So I got a lot of fire. So I'm like, no, change it now. But that's not everybody's nature. And not everybody likes it when I do that.
Yeah.
What I would say is the first thing is notice when you're eating, when you're hungry. The whole program is about -4 to +4. So no, just bring awareness. Awareness changes everything. Notice when you're eating, when you're actually hungry. Notice when I had a great session the other day where the person talked about where it changes from actually being hungry to boom, suddenly something else is happening and I'm just eating.
Yeah. Just
notice that shift. Just pause a moment. You don't have to tell yourself, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to binge tonight. You don't have to do anything of that. Just notice the shift. Take time for 3 breaths at the moment of the shift. The shift wants to push on through. It wants to start feeding faster. It wants to go to the fridge and stand up and eat freezer and eat ice cream. Just for 3 breaths, don't let it, and become aware of how you feel. Notice maybe what just changed. Did I get scared? Am I overwhelmed? Am I angry? Did I come home and there was a mess in the house and I just can't face it again? Just stop for 3 breaths and find out what's going on here. Am I not getting, I think a lot of times women aren't getting enough time alone. And so when I observe myself eating dinner in front of the TV, it's like, it finally stops. I get to space out and nobody's asking for anything.
Yeah.
So just bring awareness is my point.
Yeah, again, I know a lot of people have a lot of need on them with whatever it is that they do for their profession. But those of us, and especially physicians, and I'm speaking from my own experience, but if you have a radio on at work and like you realize that everyone is looking for you all the time, like it's just like eyes on Hammerstedt, eyes on Hammerstedt, eyes on Hammerstedt, right? And the patients need you and the staff needs you, everybody needs you. And then you walk into the house and everybody needs you, right? And so it is a very real thing. It's like, what is it that you're going to use to buffer or reward yourself for having been needed and served all those needs? You're going to use, right?
How are you going to make space for yourself? So lots of times that transition time, don't go home right away. If it's safe and not too cold where you work or somewhere on the way home, stop and walk for 30 minutes. Call a girlfriend to meet you, to walk with you for 20 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Take a space of time, or work it out with your partner. If you've got a partner and you've got kids, work it out that you walk in the door, you say, hi, everybody, I love you. I'm going for my quiet time. Get in the bathtub, put earplugs in, lie down for 20 minutes, go be alone between, make a space between. And that lets your energies settle from that radio on, eyes on hammer set.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Settle.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And this is great. I'm going to post it in both the groups and just sort of let people just sort of get a little bit of a flavor for who you are. Anybody who's watching wants to kind of hop on the phone and hear more about what we do. And thanks, Jenny.
Thank you, Heather. By the way, I'm Jenny Harps, the mindset hypnotherapy coach.
Great. Thank you.
There you go.